Got it. So I guess you have to all hit got it.
Got it.
I'd like to call the SWAT meeting to order for September 12th, Monday at 3 o'clock. The meeting will be administered by Darlene Amaral, but actually run by Chris Weeks. So welcome now, Chris. Thank you for both being here. Make an important part of this meeting. So thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to start with the Corona emergency reading, Chris?
Sure. Assembly Bill 361 suspends certain provisions of the Brown Act, allowing public meetings to be held by teleconference as a precaution to protect the health and safety of staff, officials, and the general public. Committee members will not be physically in attendance, but will be available via video conference. Members of the public may submit written public comments by emailing cweeks@sanramon.ca.gov with the agenda item number identified in the subject line of the email. For example, quote, public comment not on the agenda, unquote, or public comment on the agenda, pound. All written comments should be 350 words max, which corresponds to approximately 3 minutes of speaking time. To comment by video conference, click the raise your hand button to request to speak when the public comment period is opened on the agenda item. You will then be unmuted when it is your turn to make your comment for up to 3 minutes. After the allotted time, you will then be remuted.
All right, thank you, Chris. And please establish our quorum by taking roll of the members.
Vice Mayor Sauce.
Here.
Mayor Hudson.
Here.
Supervisor Anderson. Mayor Geringer.
Here.
Vice Chair Worth.
Here.
And Chair Stepper.
Here. So thank you. We have established that we have a quorum. We have 5 members here today. And the meeting is hereby convened, and we will do self-introductions so people understand the staff that are also here. So if you could please give your agency. Shall we start with Amy Worth?
Okay. I'm Amy Worth, Orinda City Council, and I would like to turn it over now to our Public Works Director, Siva.
Good afternoon. I'm Siva Natarajan with City of Orinda, City Engineer.
All right. Renata, would you do Moraga?
Yes, hi, I'm Renata Sauce. I'm on the Moraga Town Council, and with me is Brett Swain from our Public Works Engineering Department. Brett?
I'm Brett Swain. I'm the Senior Engineer for the Town of Moraga.
Thank you. Teresa?
Good afternoon. I'm Teresa Geringer, currently the mayor of the city of Lafayette, and I am very excited to introduce Patrick Goy. And now I'm going to ask Patrick to say his last name because I don't want to mispronounce it.
It's Patrick Gollier, and I'm the new education program manager at the city of Lafayette.
All right, so one more time, Patrick Gollier.
Gollier.
Gollier. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And thank you very much. And we are very excited to have Patrick on board and working on our local road safety plan and Vision Zero.
Oh, great. Nice introduction. Thank you. San Ramon.
Yeah, I'm Dave Hudson, Mayor of San Ramon, and you've already heard from Darlene Amaral and Chris Weeks, but if they each want to take 30 minutes and talk about themselves, go ahead.
Oh, so I guess Dave's holding a meeting afterwards to talk to you all. Great.
Through the wall, Chris.
I'm knocking.
Karen Stepper, council member from the town of Danville, and I'm here with Andy Dillard, who is our staff. Thank you, Andy. You want to say anything else?
Hi, everyone. Andy Dillard, Transportation Manager with Town of Danville. Good to see you all.
Yeah, he's only on 20 committees right now, so we're glad you're here. Thank you. We have one more member, and that's Candace Anderson, and she's not able here to make it today. But we do have a quorum, so we'll go forward, and we appreciate Gail Israel. You want to introduce yourself, Gail?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I know most of you. I am Candace's Chief of Staff, so I'm observing on her behalf. And from the county, we have our Transportation Planner, Robert Sarmiento.
Hiya.
And you are, Robert. Thank you. We also like anybody else who hasn't been introduced, who's here as a guest, to introduce yourselves, please. Dave?
Hey everyone, this is Dave Campbell, Advocacy Director with Bike East Bay. Chris, I've got an announcement I want to make. I'm happy to wait for public comment, or if now is a good time to make a quick announcement. Right?
Well, we're at.
I
if
say
there's
we just do
anyone else
public
that-
comment.
Got it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, Robert, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey there, folks. Sorry about the glare. This is Robert Prinz, also with Bike East Bay. Glad to be here.
Okay. I don't see any other people who haven't been introduced. So in which case we will go to public comment, which are items that are not items on which we take action, on which you can give up to 3 minutes of comment, and on any topic that is not on the agenda. So I think we have a request from Dave Campbell. You want to introduce yourself and then give your comments, Dave?
Thank you. Yeah, Dave Campbell, Advocacy Director with Bike East Bay. And yeah, I'm joined by Robert Prince with Bike East Bay as well. Just want to let y'all know that I am handing the reins of advocacy at Bike East Bay over to Robert Prince, who has been our education director for many years now. And some of you may know Robert, and all of you hopefully soon will be getting to know Robert a lot better. I've been at this now for 20 years and working with some of you for probably that long, certainly Darlene and Amy, just looking at my faces on here, and many of you, certainly 10 to 15 years, Andy, Dave, some others, Robert. And it's been a pleasure. And just wanted to let you know, I did put into the chat our link to our year-end event on October 8th. It would be great to have you come join us. It's in downtown Oakland in the other county, but it's going to be a Saturday afternoon affair. And if you want to raise a glass and get ready for a busy election season, I'd love to chat with you and see you, of course, in person. I'll also be having a going away event if you're interested on November 30th. More details about that. For those of you who serve on the CCTA board as well, I'll be at that meeting in person, I think now, just a couple of days from now. And we'll look forward to seeing you there. I see Dave shaking his head, Teresa as well. Amy, of course, looking forward to seeing you all then. So anyway, it's been a pleasure working with you. We're in good shape here with Bike East Bay, with Robert taking over. And if it's okay, Chris, just want to let Robert say a few words. And thank you everyone for being so patient and listening to all my great ideas over the years.
And Dave, I've been here like 20 years also, and Karen, and you have always been a great proponent for the bicycle people, and all of us are somewhat bicycle people, and appreciate your comments and comments for safety and efficiency on our roads. So thank you, Dave, for so many years of service.
Thanks, Karen.
And we'll go to public comment again, and that would be Robert Prince, please. Welcome, Robert.
Thanks so much, Karen. Those of you I've met, hi. Those of you I haven't met, I look forward to seeing you sometime soon. I've had the pleasure of sitting mostly across from Dave for the past 10 years. And I get to listen in on many of his phone calls with some of you. I have to say they're not all cordial, but probably 90%. So I'm hoping to carry on that legacy to the best of my ability. And thank you all for the great work you're doing. In case anybody wants a chance, there's yet another link here in the chat. I'm going to be at all of Bike East Bay's fall ride series. These are family-friendly trail rides that we're doing all over the East Bay on weekends throughout September, October. So if you want to ride bikes with me, say hi, chat up what's happening in your neck of the woods. Come on out, we'll have some fun. Thank you.
And Robert, the first one is in Antioch, right? Or the
We're going to Fremont first, but we will be going up to Antioch. Or if you want to do an Iron Horse Trail ride, I'm up for that too. So get in touch.
All right. Thank you. Is there anybody who want to make a comment? Since I think that Dave's saying he's not going to be back to our meetings in the future. So Amy Worth.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I just really appreciate the opportunity just to say a few words in this small gathering. I know that I'm looking forward to having, celebrating Dave. Dave, I just really want to thank you so much for your incredible advocacy and partnership in the Bay Area. You have been such an advocate for bicycle and pedestrian investments, which thanks to you, we've been able to implement a lot of these programs and plans. And the only limitation is funding. We all have our plans, but thanks to you, I've really had the pleasure, Dave, and want to thank you so much being able to work together on our transportation measures, our countywide measures. I remember with Karen early on when we did Measure J, and and many people on this call, as a matter of fact, when I look at everybody on this call worked on this. And Dave, you were amazing because you helped us put together a transportation plan that included a historic investment in bike and pedestrian funding. We're the only, I think, the funding, particularly, for example, that goes to the Park District for the bike and the bike lanes. You mentioned the Iron Horse Trail to maintain all those fantastic trails that bikes, people of all ages use every day. But Dave, the other thing you did, which I am incredibly grateful to, is you always followed up on your commitments. And once we had put together a plan that you supported, you came out and you walked the talk. You carried tables, you met with voters, you were at BART stations, you were at campaign headquarters. I have several, I have another number of photographs with Dave and with Julie Pierce and myself and various people when we were at campaign headquarters in, gathering materials, passing out leaflets, talking to voters. So, I just really want to thank you very, very much. And thanks to you, we have these resources to put into bike ped projects in our cities. And, it's very exciting to see the work that is happening in SWAT. Would you ever imagine that we would have electric scooters in our town? And, you work also so well with everyone. So thank you very much. And I know you've got a bright future, whatever you decide to do. But we are so indebted to you and all your years of service. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. And I do want to let you know, I just updated my LinkedIn photo, and I'm using that photo of you and Julie and me
I love it.
for Measure J, if that's okay.
I love that. Absolutely. Absolutely. And because that was a long day of work that day. Started out early in the morning and it just really did. And, the other thing, Dave, that you did is you were the kind of person where you brought in all of your colleagues in the advocacy community. Once you were happy with something, that everybody came along and became part of it. So thank you for being a bridge and being a real advocate too for our measures. So I'm so glad. And I'll tell Julie, she's traveling right now, so I'll tell her to check out your LinkedIn website, your profile. She'll love that.
Great, thank you. Now, really, Dave, if we knew we were having this goodbye to you, we would have had it on this bright green paint that we would have painted letters with. So in great gratitude for what you're doing for our streets all over the entire county. Thank you. Anybody else would like to make a comment? All right, well, yes, Renata.
I think Teresa was first. Karen, I'll cede the floor to her. Go ahead, Teresa.
Teresa, there you are.
Maybe my hand blends into this very, drab wall, but anyway, I will not say ditto, but I will say that Amy captured a lot of what I would share as well. I'm newer to knowing you, Dave, but have very much appreciated your work, as Amy pointed out on Measure J. I'm not offended that it's not one of the pictures, with me on your LinkedIn, but want to thank you very much also for the time that you have spent in the city of Lafayette, helping us and providing input from the cyclist perspective on our infrastructure and facilities in the city of Lafayette, particularly at the roundabout. And I just got the reminder to renew my membership to the Bike East Bay, so I'll do that in honor and recognition of Dave Campbell and all of his years of service. So I look forward to all of the celebrations of Dave as we go forward in the transportation community over the next month or so.
Thanks, Teresa. Thanks for renewing. Thanks for your support.
All right, then Renata.
Yeah, Dave, thank you. I'm not one of the veterans of this group. I've only been on it for 4 years, which pales by comparison to others. But in the years that I've been on it, I have so appreciated your perspectives and the contributions of Bike East Bay in particular looking at these issues through the lens and through in the shoes of the cyclists, because time and time again, there have been things that did not certainly occur to me. So I think your input and the group's input has been incredibly valuable and has helped us make better decisions. So thank you for that.
Great. Wonderful comments. Appreciate it very much. I guess we're giving you some applause too here. So Dave, thank you for your years of service to all of us. Appreciate it so much. And we
Andy
will
also
see-
has the comment.
Sorry, who did?
Andy does.
Andy Dillard.
I don't know if it's appropriate for staff to jump in, but I can't help myself. So Dave, it's been a pleasure working with you. I know you don't come out to Danville much, but the times you've had, it's made a huge impact, and particularly the support that you provided and the input you provided for the Diablo Road Trail, the long-awaited project that's now a reality. So, you know, Dave walked that trail in 100-degree heat several times, and really was instrumental in with his support and his group support for that project. So I can't thank you enough, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks, Andy. And I'm asking in the chat, when are we breaking ground on that trail?
Next summer, almost clearing environmental, almost there.
Yeah, if
Dave's
you've been
always
out
keeping us honest.
there's a lot of tractors working out there right now. So it's going to be the thing that brings the safest thing to bicycles in our community that we've ever had. So thank you for your work on that.
Thanks, everyone. I know you have a busy meeting. I appreciate your time and your comments. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much again. All right, we're going to go to our board member comment, which I think we just had, but if there's anybody want to comment on something else, please raise your hand.
That'd be me, Karen.
Okay, Dave Hudson.
Yeah, I call me crazy, but I thought I'd wait till board members to make my comments.
Okay.
Dave, I just want you to know that you'll be happy to know that next to Chris Weeks, your advocacy for bikes is considered lukewarm. I hope you'll watch the pilot program that he just instituted here for the bike sharing and scooter sharing that we'll put in all of San Ramon. I mean, he did it at Bishop Ranch, but I'm going to be anxious to see how much it succeeds, because I've already talked to Pleasant Hill about expanding theirs and Dublin about expanding this way. And the idea that's been floating around for decades is how do we do this down the Iron Horse Trail and not have to do a train? So it may end up with this bike share program. I hope you're paying attention and watching, because I know that you want input on the other things we're doing, but simply because you're not doing it officially doesn't mean you can't do it unofficially.
Always room for comment on any meeting that we do. I know Dave knows that, and he'll be there for us. Any other board member comments, please? All right, then we'll go to administrative items. And now I'm a little bit at a loss. Is this Chris?
Yeah, I don't think we have any for the agenda today.
All right,
I
thank
think
you.
we can move on to 5 and 5A.
Yeah. So we're going to move to the consent agenda, approval of the minutes under 5A. Is there anybody who would make a change in the minutes or any revisions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Move consent, Hudson.
Second, Sauce.
All right, Chris, would you please take the roll for the vote on 5A?
It was a
Okay,
great speech, Chris, but you had to come up.
you're muted, Chris.
That's why. Okay, I was like, why is she answering me? Okay, Vice Mayor Sauce.
Yes.
Okay, Mayor Hudson,
Yes.
Supervisor Anderson, Mayor Geringer,
Aye.
Vice Chair Worth,
Aye.
and Chair Stepper.
Aye.
Okay, looks like a 6-0 pass.
No, it's actually 5-0.
5-0, sorry, I can count to 6.
Not
No,
available
5. 5-0 pass.
All right, thank you. Then we'll go to the regular one agenda item, I think really. And I think we'll turn the table over here for Darlene Amaral is going to give a very update, and we will be taking action on this 511 Contra Costa TDM.
Yes, thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So good afternoon, everyone. The item before you is the 501 Contra Costa fiscal year 2022-23 SWAT program and budget. At this time, SWAT TAC recommends SWAT to review and approve the following. The 501 Contra Costa fiscal year 2022-23 SWAT TDM programs and budget that was included in your packet, and to authorize staff to submit the program applications to CCTA for the Measure J and the Bay Area Air Quality Management District Transportation Fund for Clean Air, known as TFCA funding. The primary funding for 511 Contra Costa program is funded by TFCA, which is provided by the Air District Program Manager Fund, and it's administered by CCTA. The objective of 511 Contra Costa is to maintain a baseline of TDM funding for the Contra Costa County incentive programs. However, given the changing environment due to COVID-19 pandemic that it's still happening, changes to the incentive programs are inevitable. The proposed budget provides the flexibility for TDM staff to pivot from one incentive program to another if required. Each year, the 501 Contra Costa program managers work together and agree upon programs for Contra Costa County residents, employers, commuters, students, and businesses. The proposed budget has been vetted through the 501 Contra Costa TDM program managers, CCTA, and they all meet the Air District cost effectiveness criteria. In addition, input has been received by SWAT TAC members. The proposed program for 22-23 501 Contra Costa offers a baseline TDM incentive program for such as bike, walk, carpool, transit, van pool. We added telecommute, and we also provide a guaranteed ride home program. So with respect to the proposed budget, I'm just going to highlight a few of the programs that are listed on page 9 and 10 of the packet. Instead of kind of going through all of them, I just wanted to highlight just a few. So the first thing is we are 501 Contra Costa will be working on new marketing and promotion outreach plan. This is with employees coming back to employment sites, we want to come up with some type of an outreach plan. So we're working on this county-wide plan, and at the same time, with the SWAT TDM budget, I oversee the funds for the sample program. So I'm looking into new ways of marketing and promoting that program as well. Van pool program is coming back. People are getting into vans throughout Contra Costa County. So there's going to be some new marketing plans for that. The funding will still be there for bicycle and EV infrastructure. So that is just providing some fundings to work sites, to schools, school site, commercial businesses, business parks, transit centers, and also to the SWAT jurisdictions as well. And then also the program, the funding is going to be used to manage the Southwest Path to Class program, which we're doing right now. The program is going to end this month. So I will have numbers for the committee, hopefully, if not next month, the month prior. The high school carpool to school program. I know you guys are all familiar with this. This year, I'm having an overwhelming, almost all the high schools are participating this year. There's maybe 2 of them that I'm still waiting for confirmation, but they all are interested in that program to try to get their students to carpool to school. As I said, the countywide van pool program, both for passengers and for drivers, we're still going to maintain that program. Traffics and the La Marinda School Bus program, will still receive funding. And then new this year, what I added was to update, automate, and redesign the countywide van pool program website. This program over the years have been very paper heavy, and it is time to get everything automated, similar to my colleagues through 501 Contra Costa. This is one of the last programs to get updated in this type of manner, and have a website for the users to go on, apply for the incentive, and just eliminate the daily paperwork that we are receiving. And also new is a category called School Trip Reduction Outreach Program. So this is kind of a two-folded program. The first part is to provide funding for the La Miranda area to have a pilot Street Smarts program. And this will be, I will get into a contract with the staff from the Diablo Street Smarts.
Great.
They will provide the staffing and the bike assembly. And then the other part of it is to work with the school districts to try to encourage or implement a youth rideshare solution through private transportation companies that offer student carpool services. So those are just some highlights of some, like I said, those are on page 9 and 10 of the staff reports. And the other thing I wanted to mention, new this year, and this is coming from the Air District and CCTA staff, any unspent TFCA funds, and I'm only talking TFCA, within a 1-year time frame will be reallocated into the next fiscal year TFCA allocations within the same subregion. So SWAT will never lose money. We will always, whatever is not spent within 1 year is just going to be reallocated into the new funding for that fiscal year. And you'll see that it's on the budget that I have presented or included in this agenda packet, and it's under reallocated TFCA funds. I mean, at this time, this kind of concludes my presentation, and I kind of wanted to open up for questions.
I'm going to start by clarifying for people that don't have it in front of them that the TFCA that you keep referring to is the Transportation Fund for Clean Air.
Correct.
And the entire program is generating things that have 2 criteria, which is to reduce traffic congestion and to improve air quality. So when we refer to those items. But Darlene, thank you very much for such a complete report and giving it in bullet point, and then giving us the emphasis on things that are new to some of the people in the audience. I appreciate that. And we'll take if there's any comments or questions on all those bullet points before we take a motion. Any hands going up? All right.
Yeah.
Yes,
Renata.
Teresa?
Oh.
Sorry, I was pointing at Renata.
My raise hand feature doesn't work. I don't know, Darlene, if what I'm doing wrong, or you don't want me raising my hand, which is entirely understandable.
No, Renata, I apologize because you were on the next screen and I didn't see that you had.
No, it's fine. Go ahead, Teresa.
No, I was really pointing that Renata had her hand up.
Oh,
so
okay.
you go
Thank
ahead.
you. So may I have the floor, Madam Chair?
Yes, Renata saw.
Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, my big question was how this proposed budget reflects, you know, the realities in the, I'm not going to call it the post-COVID world because we're still in the COVID world, but the repercussions from the pandemic of the last couple of years. And I think, Darlene, I heard you say that you guys have built in flexibility to be able to move the shells around on the table if that is warranted. But were there any programs that were kind of evaluated of, do they still make sense in this, given what's happened? Are there new programs we should be considering? I'd love to know what the thought process was.
So because this is the first year that we're actually having to complete a project within 1 year, and then having this TFCA funds being reallocated, this was the first year. So what we decided to do was just keep the core programs together, and then we could reevaluate this within the 1 year time. So to answer your question, the one thing we did find, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic, is county-wide programs such as like the Summer Bike Challenge, the Summer Youth Program that we offer during the summer, and the other county-wide the e-bike rebate program. Those programs are successful, and those programs we do want to continue and expand on. But once again, just being it, our first year having this rollover money, we just really wanted to make sure we have that flexibility and not just say the AMPO program is only going to get 50,000, because we have no idea what the VAMPO program is going to be, So hopefully that answers. I don't know, Chris.
Well, it does. So it sounds like we're just going to be paying close attention and pivoting and adapting as necessary. And if I may ask a follow-up, so 90,000 is allocated for the La Miranda School Bus Authority. Last year, the actual was 0. Is that because the buses weren't running? Or I guess my question is, what was the number before all hell broke loose with COVID?
So even during COVID, both Traffics and the La Miranda School Bus Program still received the 90,000.
Okay. So that's been kind of consistent over the last several years. Okay, thank you very much. Those are my questions.
Amy Worth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Darlene, thank you very much for that presentation, and I really appreciate staff and the TAC recognizing that we're kind of in a fluid period. And one, we've had this real high priority for bike and pedestrian access and safety in the schools, and want to be able to put as much money as we can into the area of encouraging carpooling and bus and bikes for our youth. So but just to clarify, if you might clarify the budget. So the totals for the categories are listed, but there's no per program. And is it your estimate? And so the idea is, number one, as you mentioned in the memo, to be able to have some flexibility to move to address demand. But is it your sense that that amount obviously will accommodate what we're trying to do with these programs? Can you explain a little bit more about how the money's going to flow into the specific programs? And the other thing that occurred to me is we have such a demand in terms of programming for our, a lot of these programs. And I see something about chamber dues. And while I know it's really important for us to work with the community, I'm just wondering if we might be helpful for us to look specifically at, funding specific community programs as opposed to, organizational dues. So just the main question is about how we're going to allocate these dollars, how staff is planning on doing that.
So the way the budget's set up right now is that each individual items, I'm not putting a dollar. We decided not to put a dollar amount too. So that's going to provide the flexibility. So for instance, we could say, maybe this year no one is interested in getting bike racks or bike lockers. So that money that would have went for that will go towards the VAMPO program. It's kind of like I have this pot of money and it can basically be spent in anything in that's being itemized, but there's no dollar amount associated with it. And in regards to the member dues, I have a $2,000 mark there because that's roughly what I pay every year for all the chambers and all the different associations that I belong to for TDM. But there might be times where that $2,000 might only be $1,000 because maybe I didn't join association from prior year. but there's flexibility in that amount. That's kind of why we chose not to have individual amounts like we've done in previous years, because that kind of sets the stage like, oh, we can't go over this amount for Vanpool, but then yet we might not spend nothing in the high school program, or vice versa, or in the bike to work day supplies. You know, we used to put, you know, dollar amount in there as well. But I can speak for me being staff. I'm going to do my best to try to work as hard as I can to just spend down this allocation as much as possible, so we won't have such a large amount to be reallocated for next year. And then when you get the new funding, I know the Air District and CCTA staff want new ideas. You have the core programs, but they also always want to see new ideas.
Great. Thank you.
No problem. Chris, please jump in if I'm missing something.
The only thing I can think of is that, you know, for example, we might get less Measure J funds or less TFCA funds in a year. And we're ready to deal with that with this rollover money. So, you know, having a little cushion to be able to deal with those realities, I think is good for an organization rather than going to zero every darn time. So I think that's important to note. And then, you know, this doesn't mean that we can't add programs.
Correct.
A lot of these buckets are pretty big, and you know, a lot of things can fit within bicycle parking, or can fit within, you know, micromobility coordination or survey incentives. I mean, they're kind of categories more than they are specific projects, even though there are specific projects in each of these categories. So you know, we're looking to SWAT for innovation, and we're looking for great ideas. But the idea is that we aren't going to be constrained in the same way we were in the past with having no extra cushion to fall back on. And I think that we should be comfortable moving forward, having some cash in the bank for the first time. It's exciting that they've made that decision to roll over that money from a time when everybody was just basically sitting back and waiting, and we couldn't run these programs because people weren't leaving their homes.
I'd like to follow up the question for both of those things, that with respect to the program expenses, it was 157,000 approved for the prior year and 123,000 in that category this year. And there's at least 10 items in that list. Is there any way you can give an estimate of how it's going to be, as opposed to, I guess you're trying to avoid making budget adjustments, but budgets usually are more detailed than this. And I don't know if we're going to be able to fund some of these, all of these, enough that they all could exist, but we might not want to, because we might want to reallocate them. But I know that you at the TAC have looked at it in that detail, and I wonder if we could get something that was, if it's not a formally adjusted budget, that we have some idea that they add up to something near the 123,000 that we're allocating. Or otherwise, we might start spending it all in county-wide community-based programs, and then suddenly when we get to the school programs, we didn't have enough for the past two classes.
I think that's part of the point of having the rollover money, is that in addition to this 123,000, we have, what is the amount, Darlene?
367,000.
Yeah, so there's another 367,000. So it's, I mean, I think we'll
So
if
we
end
could
up going
fund all of them at last year's amount,
at
because
minimum.
367 is far in excess of 157. So
Correct. We and if you guys do notice at the bottom, we are receiving less TFCA funds as far as the new allocations. Compared to what we received from last year, it's almost $42,000 less. So that's kind of what you see, that difference. I mean, Russ, I'm looking at it really quick. So I reduced, that's kind of the funding where the $42,000 has been reduced out of that, the TDM program expenses. But as we just mentioned, we have
so we're talking about the TDM being the main part that had all the 10 or 11 items.
Correct. And then
that's where that is reflected. Okay.
Yeah. And then underneath that, we have the reallocated TFCA funds, and we have that item that says supplement fluctuation and cost of the above TDM.
Mhm.
So that's going to help us with exactly with the situation you're saying, that we could rely on this $367,000 if we need to. We can pull from that.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I am just used to having budgets that are more specific than this, and would be my preference, but okay. So at that point, are there any other people that want to change anything in this? Otherwise, we'll look for a motion. And then when we look for the motion, I'd like to see the two of them combined. I don't see them really separated. One is being the TDM programs through 511 Contra Costa, and the other is to submit the program applications so that they can be funded. So, and I can read the whole amount if you'd like. For those that are online for Zoom, it's the 511 Contra Costa fiscal year 22-23 SWAT TDM programs and budget. And secondly is to authorize the staff to submit program applications to the Contra Costa Transportation Authority for Measure J and Bay Area Air Quality Management District Transportation Fund for Clean Air funding. Okay.
Make that motion, Karen Hudson.
Okay, Dave Hudson makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion, Geringer.
Okay, second by Geringer. Are there further discussion of the items? All right, then I'll ask Chris Weeks, please to call the roll.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. How about Vice Mayor Sauce?
Yes.
Mayor Hudson?
Just messing with you, Chris. Yes.
Yay. Okay, Supervisor Anderson? Mayor Geringer? Mayor Geringer, we didn't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I said aye.
Okay.
Thought
Sorry,
it was off.
you were muted then. Sorry.
Vice Chair Worth
Aye.
and Chair Stepper.
Aye.
Okay, that's 5-0.
Okay, so it passes unanimously. And so at the end of the roll, if we always say that, that's good for legal processing, that you have the vote recorded. So we have 5-0 and one person missing today. So thank you. We will go on to the next item, which really is communications. Is there any comments on the written communications that we received from any of the RTPCs or from CCTA? All right, seeing none, then we'll go to discussion of items that you want to see on the next agenda item, which will be on October 3rd.
Maybe.
Maybe.
But we don't have anything.
Oh, okay, maybe. All right, it's tentatively. I don't see any items that are specified yet. Amy Worth.
I just had one question. I noticed that in the correspondence, we've received the copy of the county's housing element draft. Do you anticipate wanting to have all the city jurisdictions submit these drafts to SWAT, or was that more just a courtesy submission? Because
It was more of a courtesy.
Okay,
It's
great.
one of the county staff forwarded that to me to include into the SWAT packet.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
That's a good question, Amy. I had the same comment. Thank you. Any other comments on the communications? Okay, so there's no action to be determined. So we look like if there's no further discussion that we're going to adjourn to the Monday, October 3rd meeting. Is there anyone with a problem with the October 3rd date? All right, seeing none, then we will adjourn this meeting at 3:45, which is pretty
Yeah.
close to